welcome back to another video. Today's video is going to be very short and sweet because I'm just going to answer a couple of questions that I've been getting in my comments lately. Recently, when I have done my electroforming tutorial video and I've had a few videos where I was electroforming different things, a lot of you have been asking me about my two setup system. So as you know from my videos, I do have two setups and I go back and forth between what I use. So I have a smaller setup that consists of a beaker and then a much larger setup, which is the tank that you can see in my background right now. Now, I have received an absolute ton of questions about how these setups work, what they look like, and how many pieces can I electroform in each one. So I figured I'm just going to answer them with a quick little video, so hopefully that'll help. Now, I do have both of my setups behind me on my little shelf here. So I have my electroforming shelf, and above that I have camera equipment. Probably not the greatest idea to store camera equipment very close to acidic chemicals, but we're gonna go with it. Now, for both of these setups, the one thing that I do that's a bit unique compared to most people who have two setups is that I still have one power supply. I don't do two completely separate setups. I do keep one power supply. And then I only use one setup at a time, so that doesn't affect me and I don't need two power supplies for any reason. Eventually, I do want to upgrade my power supply and get a newer one from Eventech. Currently, I use this ancient looking one from Eventech. It looks quite old, but it has served me faithfully, so I will not get rid of it yet. I'm gonna go over a couple of the different things with my setups. Let's go over. So, as you can see, I have two different setups. I have my little beaker. It's empty right now. And then I have my big tank setup. This is filled because I have just electroformed a whole collection. So I'll show you how many pieces that was. And then I just have some spare copper wire, which I use as my cathode wire. So the smaller setup is my little beaker here. Now, this is a 1,000 milliliter beaker made of borosilicate glass, and then inside I have my copper anode, which you can see that anode will need some cleaning and brushing because right now it is covered and a little corroded, so that'll need some cleaning before I use it again. Although I can probably use it again, it just might not give me the best results. And then I just use this little chopstick with a wire, and that's what holds my piece, and it works pretty well for me. And I just clip the alligator clip up top. Now, this smaller beaker, I mostly use that when I just want to do one piece at a time and I don't want to do a whole collection, or maybe I want to do a small repair, or just maybe something small, like maybe 2 rings or a pair of earrings. But it's not good for more than one piece at a time, really. If it's my bigger, like, pendants, necklaces, I can really only fit one of them in that. I really can't fit much more. That beaker is really meant for either filming YouTube videos, where I am kind of just sculpting, you know, one little piece. I'm sculpting it on film, and I want to have that filmed. And I want to be able to film the process and control a lot more. That makes it easier for me, and I don't have to fill up my huge tank. The other reason I'm going to use a small tank is if I'm literally just creating, like, a one-off, I'm doing some kind of custom work, which I don't do a lot of, but every once in a while I'll do a custom piece for somebody. Now, using that small setup for stuff like that makes it a lot easier because it's a lot easier to maintain. I don't have to spend as much time filtering it and cleaning the entire setup. Now, my larger setup over here, this is a 15-quart container. This is just the Lowe's project source, so that's where I got it from. So it holds quite a bit of liquid, and as you can see, I have it filled pretty high up, and you kind of have to have it filled pretty high because to get the depth for one of your pieces, you kind of need that depth. And as you can see, I just moved it, so some of the dirt from the bottom kind of got mixed up a little bit, so the solution got a little mixed. The main reason I have the large setup is because I like to electroform full collections at a time. So I do have a small business where I do make jewelry, so in addition to doing YouTube, I do silver jewelry, and then I also do copper electroformed. And copper electroformed has been one of my longest running lines. I usually release them in batches of collections, so rather than making one piece at a time, I do prefer to sculpt a variety of them, electroform them all at once, seal them, and finish them all, and then I have anywhere from a 5-piece collection if it's like a smaller one, more detailed, all the way up to like a 15-20 piece collection. That's just how I've always worked. And prior to that, I used to have a medium-sized plastic box where I would electroform in that. It kind of kept me at like 10 pieces at the most, and then it made it really hard to electroform a lot more, and that's like 10 decent large pieces, which isn't bad. Now, when it comes to using the larger container, makes it a lot easier to run several batches at once. So what I used to have to do when I had a smaller electroforming container, which I was like a medium-sized box, maybe smaller, definitely a lot smaller than the shoebox, probably half the size of my new container, I would have to sometimes run a 20-piece collection. I'd have to run it in several batches, especially depending on how big the pieces were. If they were smaller pieces, I might be able to get away with electroforming 5 to 10 things at once. If they're larger pieces, I might have had to do maybe 3 or 4 of them at a time, so it could take a while to electroform my full collection. So that is the biggest reason why I upgraded to this whole container. I just want to be able to do an entire collection at once, do it all in one shot. I'd rather electroform for a much longer period of time and let it electroform slowly rather than having to try to rush through as fast as possible because I want to release a collection with a deadline. So in this case, I'm going to show you how many pieces and what size that I have just finished electroforming. So I get a little sneak peek at the next collection coming up. With the latest collection I've made that I just ran with this new setup for the first time, I made 5 pieces. Now this is the first time using my big tank setup, and I ran those 5 pieces probably for about 72 hours or so. I was messing with the power and the amps and how much I wanted to use. So I did end up with a little bit of like a weird overgrowth, which fortunately for me just sanded down just fine with my rotary tool. So no big deal. The big thing is that I realized that having a larger tank setup means that your bath chemistry is a little bit different. You may need larger adjustments versus before I could just add a little bit of distilled water or 1 or 2 drops of brightener. I might need larger adjustments because of the sheer volume of liquid that I'm using. In this case, I ended up with some very salmony pink pieces, which, and everybody hates them, and I know they're annoying, but at least you can easily polish them up. So it wasn't a big deal. I could polish them up, and I did, and they came out really good, and I'm still happy with them. So that's just the one thing when you are moving to a larger setup, you got to remember that there's going to be some trial and error. So right now I am in the trial and error period with the setup. I'm hoping that I can kind of get it dialed in over the next like run or two every time using it, and it'll get better and better. So now, how many pieces can I electroform in here? Quite a lot. So when it comes to your anode and cathode, you want to have a 2-to-1 anode to cathode ratio, and you can have up to a 3-to-1 also. So in this case, I am using this, which is from my older setup, and I just hang the pieces along here, but I can also do several. I need some longer pieces of copper, but I can do several going across. So this would give me a lot more ability to put a lot more pieces in here and be able to electroform them at the same time. Now, I do have my anode is wrapped at least 4 or 5 times around the edges of this container. So while it's a little hard to see, you can see the mess of wire on the inside, and that gives me a good amount of anode, so that means I can have a decent amount of pieces in here. So for example, I just did a collection and I electroformed 5 pieces at once. Now they're already separated in baggies because they're finished and they're just ready for photography now, but I basically just ran all of these at the same time and had no issues. And all of these are quite large. As you can see, they're very large pieces. They have a lot of surface area to electroform, a lot of details, and they still came out pretty good. So I was quite happy with them. Yes, this one is inspired by Lord of the Rings. Cozy little hobbit hole. This is an herbal inspired collection. So these are inspired by different sorts of herbs. So you got, sage here, things like rosemary. I got a sakura blossom, cherry blossom one. I was able to electroform all of these at once with no issues, other than them coming out pink instead of shiny, which was no issue because then all I did was use my rotary tool to shiny them up, and that worked just fine. And then I just went about and finished them as I normally would. So hopefully this video has answered some of your questions about tank setups. I do use 2 tank setups. It might not be the best thing for everybody, but it just works with how I run my business and the fact that I also do YouTube. So it makes it a lot easier to kind of do both things at once. I have my big tank for mostly creating pieces for my business, for my small business, and then have the little tank for when I do YouTube tutorials or videos, or just, again, want to do one-off custom pieces. So it makes that a lot easier. If you have any more questions about setups or electroforming, please drop them down below in the comments and I will answer them or maybe make a video response. So this just helps me create more content for you guys, and I can expand on the random electroforming knowledge that I have come to accrue over the last couple of years. Don't forget to hit the like button, click the subscribe, and ring the notification bell so you don't miss the next video. And videos come out every other week. So I'll see you at the next one.